Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Louisiana School Boards Association's 81st Annual Convention. We now present the LSBA Board of Directors. Doug Lacombe, Acadia Parish. George Nasser, St. James Parish. James Higginbotham, Acadia Parish. Catherine Lemoyne, St. Bernard Parish. Sue Byer, St. James Parish. Patricia Russo, Ascension Parish. Rose Dominguez, Tangipahoa Parish. Donald Dees, Jefferson Davis Parish. Annette Ballard, Calcasieu Parish. Jerry Hicks, Ouachita Parish. Frankie Mitchell, Webster Parish. Glenn Bullard, Bossier Parish. Jack Luke, St. Tammany Parish. Melvin Lodge, Iberville Parish. Dr. Janet Pope, LSBA Executive Director. 2013, a year of rebuilding. An Army of Advocates. The LSBA focused on and the assessment of Common Core and park testing measures. Other accomplishments include the debut of the legislative framework and providing quality training opportunities for board members to fulfill Louisiana CLU requirements. In 2015, Louisiana believes in public schools. In 2016, leadership matters today and tomorrow. Prolonged rainfall in 2016 resulted in catastrophic flooding in Louisiana. Many schools were unable to hold classes. LSBA worked together with those school systems to help facilitate supplies and designate alternate schools for over 250,000 displaced students. In 2017. In 2018, together let's reach new heights. Today, the legacy continues because LSBA is on the move.
The Louisiana School Boards Association has 643 school board members across the state of Louisiana. In attendance at our 2019 annual conference this year, we have 553 school board members who are attending our conference, and out of 69 superintendents, we have 60 who are attending this year. So we have professional development dealing with the promotion of STEM in our public education schools. We also have professional development from Secretary Pearson in regards to ITEP and local autonomy in deciding ITEPs within parishes. We have 3 issues that we're working on as we go into this next legislative session. We are looking at funding in the MFP, extra funding, and for teacher raises, we're looking at school funding in regards to level 1 in the MFP, and we're also looking at working with retention and recruiting of our teachers. We've recently found out with data that was just given to us that we have about maybe 35% of our teachers that are not certified in teaching in their field right now. So that's something that we'll be concentrating on and looking to work with other educational stakeholders to recruit more teachers and to retain them.
We always need that state dollar, and last year was the only year in past 10 years that we were able to get the MFP funded. We're asking them to actually give it to us every year, and we haven't been getting it. It's really necessary that we have these funds so that we can move our children forward in their education.
One of the problems is everything else continues to rise as far as life insurance, hospitalization, all of the benefits that we provide for our employees. And so we should have at least enough in the MFP increase to cover inflation costs.
The responsibilities that the school systems face, that we face, especially in St. Bernard Parish, are increased mandates that are not funded. And so to have a flat MFP but continually changing and increased accountability is a very difficult situation for us to be in.
MFP deals with money, and in every area, some of the school boards just can't, they don't have the kind of businesses and industries, and it certainly affects the amount of money that each school board receives. So we have struggled, the smaller schools have really struggled because there has not been a very high increase in the MFP.
The MFP is the only money we get to run our system. There's no money for construction improvements like many other states have. So therefore the MFP being stagnant and not allowing us to give the raises that we'd like, we still have to hire people, we still have to put more buses on the road and things that take, and the MFP is all we have to handle those situations, and it certainly being stagnant has hurt our situation.
I think it's very important that we get an increase in MFP because all of our systems across the state have been stagnant for the last since '08, and we've only had one increase in all these many years. However, everything has increased that's come to us. Our retirement health care, all of the bills are still increasing. However, our money has not increased that we receive from the state. So we really are in desperate need of a little bit more revenue to cover all the health care cost and the retirement care cost.
The MFP is the main way that we finance certain functions within our classrooms and our teachers and all of that. It's been stagnant for over 10 years. And this is hurting, especially like rural parishes like Jeff Davis Parish, where your tax base is not as big, things like this. It hurts the education of our children by them not paying what they agreed to pay in the first place.
It's very difficult to make sure that our budget is balanced and that we're doing everything we need to do, not only for the students, for the materials that are coming in, everything that they need in the schools. So the MFP funding is basic. We need it.
Certainly MFP being our primary revenue source, it's important. We've had inflation. Many of the day-to-day costs have increased. For instance, this past week, we authorized the purchase of 12 new school buses. Well, those school buses were priced at close to $100,000 apiece, whereas 10 years ago, they were in the $80,000 range. So the cost of just conducting business, certainly, those costs have increased. We have had a significant increase in student population. We are growing at a rate of almost 500 students, new students, per year. That equates to basically one new elementary school based on the way we accommodate our students. That's a new school every year. And MFP, its failure to increase has severely restricted our ability to provide all the services we want to when we want to do it. Maybe we have to postpone. We have to make some choices. We would prefer not to be faced with, because we want the very best for our students.
It's been very, very difficult to manage. Obviously, there's so many changes and so many mandates that come down from the state. So you're trying to do more with fewer dollars. And so it's been an incredible struggle. And as you know, in our district, we have some incredible financial challenges ahead.
I believe that the 10-year flat line on the MFP over the last 10 years has affected our school district like most school districts. It has posed the challenge of just being able to educate our kids to the degree we really need to do that.
It cuts a lot of programs because we have to concentrate on the, I guess back to your reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we try to expand on different programs, and it just makes it harder because you don't have the funds, you don't have the funds to pay more teachers to teach these classes. We have larger class sizes now than we've ever had in Plaquemines Parish, so it really cuts into all of that.
We haven't been able to really move our children forward educational-wise. The state's requiring us to have a better curriculum, a newer curriculum with Common Core. We don't have the funding to. It's all going to our local citizens that we don't have tax bases in our communities and can't support our local schools. So we need the state to help us get more of the MFP funds into our schools so that we can move our children along and raise our test scores.
I think that we do need to have an increase in the MFP to give our teachers and our support personnel a very, very needed pay increase.
How important is the pay increase for you to keep the teachers that you have and to attract the best teachers?
It's very important. In St. James Parish, we are one of the highest paying parishes in the state. However, we do lose some of our teachers, especially some of the males and some of the female teachers, to industry. And so for us to try to keep the best teachers that we can, we will have to increase to at least compete with some of the industries in the parish.
We're blessed and fortunate to have a wonderful teaching corps in St. Bernard Parish, but it has become increasingly difficult to retain good teachers because of the pay. And that's why it's more important than ever in this legislative session to make sure that we have teacher pay raises as a priority.
It is definitely difficult to retain teachers. Why? Because we need better pay. We need a lot of different things to keep teachers in our state and our parish. So hopefully we can get all of that solved with an increase in pay, starting there.
As a retired teacher, pay raises are very important, especially at this time, because of the new, all the expectations and requirements that are put on teachers. And by not giving a pay raise, I feel like it's showing lack of appreciation and priority for our educators and what they do for our community and our students.
How many school teachers have you seen in your school system leave for higher pay?
Many, 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 many. And not just for higher pay, but also just for the fact that we don't show the appreciation and value of our educators. We keep putting more on them, and we don't give them the support or the compensation or benefits that they deserve.
Pay raises are always important. Unfortunately, when as a teacher myself at one time, the pay scale was always something that concerned us. We are professionals. We go through college. We get our degrees. We do everything asked of us, but yet we just can't seem to get those in charge to recognize that a pay raise always helps.
Number one, teachers, because they are given more tasks to perform, and then they're very competitive. Other states are calling them in, and we're losing some of our excellent Louisiana certified teachers to other states because they don't have as much to do, but we have much to do with less pay.
We want to keep good teachers And all the good teachers, you need to pay them a decent salary. And this is why we want to do that. This is why we're behind Governor John Bell Edwards and his effort to give teachers pay raise, and especially our support workers. They also need to be given a pay raise because no one can survive with a minimum wage salary. And this is what we pay our support people. We need to do better.
Our school system since I've been on the board since 2007, we've lost over $50 million in revenue because of the increase in the cost and the decrease in the money that's come in. So it's very important to us because we haven't been able to even do step raises all these years. We've only done it twice. So we're losing teachers to neighboring parishes who can afford to pay more because we're not able to keep up because of the revenue. But we're working hard to do more incentives for our teachers, but we sure could use an increase in MFP. That would definitely help.
We lose teachers to Texas and also other places. The pay raise is not only for the teachers we are losing, it is critical because our colleges of education and our universities are having more difficulties in having students come into the field of education. And so really we are losing students at the undergraduate level and at the graduate level. And that's very serious.
My wife is a teacher, so clearly she works very hard, very long hours. It is a calling, it is a vocation. But the reality of it is that it's been a long time, and we need to make sure that our teachers are paid at least close to the Southern regional average, if not above. We have challenges in education. We need to draw new teachers in, and finance and salary and payroll and benefits is a big part of that.
We are seeing a dramatic change in our ability to retain and recruit teachers, recruit new highly qualified teachers, particularly in the area of STEM. We've been talking STEM this afternoon. It is difficult to recruit those highly qualified teachers. More importantly, you want to retain them once you have them on board. And we have been losing them to our surrounding parishes. We have recently fallen behind our surrounding parishes in terms of starting pay. So teacher pay is of great importance to us. We are experiencing the detrimental effect when your pay does fall behind surrounding areas.
We're losing people not only to bigger parishes, but to out of state. And we need that pay raise to go through, and we need the legislature to quit bickering and get together and work together and figure a way to finance public education.
We have a recruitment team in our parish through the central office, and they attend every university in the area, encouraging teachers and trying to pick out the best to be able to interview for our jobs. But it is becoming harder and harder every year. There are fewer and fewer in those classes for us to get to interview.
At the Louisiana School Boards Association's annual conference, I want to talk about a coalition that we've just gotten together with a group of educational stakeholders. These groups are a part of our coalition, and we have the Louisiana School Boards Association a part of that, the Louisiana Association of School Superintendents.
Teachers Associations.
Yes, about two teacher associations, LAE and LFT.
And the Retired Teachers Association.
Yes. And the Principals Association. Mm-hmm. So we've all gotten together, and we believe in public education, and we are going to be doing these 10 town hall regional meetings across the state of Louisiana, and we have invited the local legislators to participate in a conversation about our 3 focus points, which are important to us in this next legislative session that will be beginning in April. So Kelly, you want to talk about some of those 3 points?
Yes, the 3 points. The first point is, of course, teacher pay. It's important that we provide teachers with adequate pay. So we're very excited about working together to try and make that happen for our teachers. The next thing is, of course, public funding, public school funding. We need to make sure that our schools are able to provide our students and our teachers with the resources and the supports that they need to be successful. And the third thing that we are working on is teacher retention. It's important that we make sure that our teachers stay within the public education field and that we give them all of the things that they need to be successful. So those three things that we're working on, I think, are valid things that we can absolutely work together through our coalition and make things happen for them.
Right, and we include our support workers because at the end of the day, our coalition believes that it takes a village to educate our children in our public schools.
This is a critical time in our state.
Our schools are crumbling.
Teacher salaries in Louisiana are below the Southern average.
We're going to lose quality teachers.
We have support personnel who live at or sometimes below the poverty line.
There are so many obstacles that we face.
No chemistry labs, no science labs.
Every year we find that more demands are placed on our local school systems.
We have sat silent for too long.
This kind of education coalition has never come together.
Louisiana Association of School Superintendents,
Louisiana School Board Association,
Louisiana Association of Principals,
Louisiana Association of Educators,
Louisiana Retired Teachers Association,
and Louisiana Federation of Teachers and School Employees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining our conversation about education.
I think we've reached the point in our state where we have to make education the top priority.
Did you know that Louisiana's teachers are making less than teachers in neighboring states?
We used to be at the Southern Regional average. We have now fallen far behind what that average is.
In the last decade, teachers in Louisiana saw a 10.8% pay cut when adjusted for inflation.
We have teachers that leave. I mean, they're leaving to either go to other parishes. They have teachers going to other states.
We don't have enough certified teachers to fill the number of positions that we have vacant in Louisiana.
Support staff in our schools are vital to the safety and well-being of our kids every day.
Quality education does not start from the moment they walk through the door. It starts from the minute they get on the bus.
Whether you are a bus driver, whether you're a cook, whether you're a custodian, a teacher, every single person who works with children is important.
I don't think our teachers should be struggling. I don't think our support personnel should be struggling. I think they should be very well paid, but I understand that they're not being paid what their value is.
How do we stop students from leaving our states and staying right here and being part of our economic growth and development in Louisiana?
Too often, local school boards have their hands tied.
We have underfunded schools for a dozen years now because we haven't added any money to the minimum foundation program.
The state does not support us at all for any school construction or facilities.
We're getting overpopulation in our classrooms.
We believe that locals should have the control to make sure that the school system is completely funded and that they have the resources necessary for every student in their district to get a quality education. We have this high demand for teachers, and we have not increased the wages. So in all other professions, the law of supply and demand always works. Why can't we make it work for the teaching profession?
What is the purpose of education in Louisiana? It's to prepare a workforce that will stay in Louisiana. By retaining young people with professional degrees, we can attract a better business and industry and improve the economy of Louisiana.
We need to all come together to work together to help our children in their education.
Whether you're a businessman, a woman, whether you're clergy, whether you're teachers or school employees, parents, students.
We need to make sure that education opens doors and not closes them on our children.
I think our legislators and our governors should work together to find the resources for these pay raises that teachers and school employees deserve.
Our schools, our teachers, our parents, the communities, we're more than just a letter grade.
The experienced teacher is the one that makes the most difference in academic performance.
We have to make a difference.
Because our children deserve to have the best and the brightest.
We have to make education a valued profession.
Making sure that we're retaining those who have made education their lifelong vocation.
We have to begin to make the change.
Louisiana's coming out of one of the worst budget crunches ever, and now we have a surplus. Now it's time to fund education.
Let's do the right thing.
Let's do the right thing.
Let's do the right thing.
Do the right thing for our students, teachers, and school employees.
Let's do the right thing for Louisiana.
Let's do it.
Today we've had a great opportunity to have a conversation around the industrial tax exemption program, the changes that have been made over the last 2 years, and how they have brought accountability to the program, how they continue to support the program in a very important competitive way. We need to win jobs for Louisiana communities, and we do this with programs like ITEP that are sort of a foundational element to the recruitment or growth of new jobs across our state.
Louisiana Economic Development has a clear mission: cultivate jobs and economic opportunities for Louisiana residents and businesses. The Mississippi River, robust natural resources, and the best port system in the country support our success. Faced with evolving markets, continuous innovation, and global competition, Louisiana relies on business programs to attract and retain companies in the state to sustain our economic momentum. The Industrial Tax Exemption Program, known as ITEP, is designed to support and grow manufacturers. And for good reason. Manufacturers are wealth generators, making a tremendous impact in the communities where they operate. For every manufacturing job, 6 to 8 additional jobs are created in a community. That's because manufacturers rely on support services like engineering, construction, staffing, logistics, and maintenance, which represent jobs outside the fence line of an operation. And more jobs and more paychecks in a community mean more economic activity for grocery stores, dry cleaners, and other local small businesses. This concept is referred to as the multiplier or ripple effect. Parishes with significant ITEP participation, primarily from manufacturers, are typically home to some of the highest wages, highest property tax collections, best funded school systems, and highest paid teachers. Even with the program's importance to the state's tax code and economic growth, some elements required attention. 39 states offer a property tax exemption for manufacturers. Before June 2016, Louisiana was the only one approving those exemptions at the state level without any local input. The program included no defined requirements for job creation or retention, so a company's accountability to its exemption application claims was not entirely evident. Also, tax collections were not available to a community, where the increased traffic, school population, and law enforcement needs occurred until year 11 of a project, following the 10-year abatement term. So in 2016, Governor John Bell Edwards addressed these elements, improving the program with 2 executive orders. And last year, the Board of Commerce and Industry went through another rulemaking process, accompanied by public hearings and a public comment period, to further simplify, streamline, and improve the industrial tax exemption program. Governor Edwards' leadership resulted in a revised ITEP that strikes a balance between Louisiana's ability to compete for and win projects and the needs of the communities hosting these projects. Today's industrial tax exemption program features local input and project accountability. Communities receive immediate property tax revenues and the additional benefits of a manufacturing presence, including increased collections from commercial sales taxes, individual sales taxes, property taxes, and more importantly, all the jobs and impacts that accompany manufacturing operations. Today, the program achieves the balance needed to support the best interests of Louisiana citizens while growing and retaining our industrial base. With an improved industrial tax exemption program and Louisiana's strong economic momentum, our state is well positioned for a future of thriving parishes and a growing private sector.
The refined ITEP program supports not only competitiveness, not only our ability to get out and compete across the U.S., but it strengthens our communities. That's demonstrated where you see a concentration of ITEP contracts. Well, there's a concentration of manufacturing facilities, and that means there's a concentration of high-paying jobs, and that benefits the school systems and the school facilities in those regions. So let's talk about some of the myths that have come to coalesce around the ITEP topic. There's several that are out there on slide 18 that parishes could have used the foregone revenue from ITEP to improve local entities. Well, rule one, you can't spend what you don't have. Only after a plant is built and the workforce is hired and people are working is there a tax exemption awarded. Not $1 of upfront money. A no vote on an ITEP contract does not create any cash whatsoever. You can't abate what's not there, and without ITEP, without that ability to compete, the projects that we are discussing may never materialize. Myth number 2. Before I go there, you can see an example of this in the real world on slide number 20, in that New York has decided that they don't want to see Amazon. And I know that's a controversial topic. You may not want to see Amazon either, or you might. But Amazon left New York without receiving any tax breaks, and now New York will receive no impact whatsoever. No economic impact. So perhaps there's an opportunity cost there that the community will have, and where they may have been able to gain billions of dollars of impact, they've chosen that that's not the path that they want to be on. And we respect that. But that's a part of your voice at the local table. On slide 21, ITEP creates no jobs, and manufacturing sector has actually lost jobs over the last several years. Well, as I've stated, all ITEP contracts require jobs, or in some cases where there's a compelling reason, retain jobs. Again, we're in an era of acceleration in technology. So there's more robotics, there's more cloud computing, there's more big data. There will actually be fewer jobs on the manufacturing floor. But does that mean we don't want them? No. Does that mean we don't want to modernize our facilities? We absolutely want to modernize those facilities. So the idea is that ITEP is a pathway to creating jobs. ITEP is a pathway to retaining jobs and gives your community a chance to compete and win. Those of you here on the border with Texas understand this more clearly than other parishes across our state. Because if you look over that border into Texas, you'll see many small towns with a dedicated half-cent sales tax that has allowed them to build tremendous war chests of cash. And when they talk to these same companies you're competing for, they're telling them they're going to build them that building. They're going to put in that parking lot and that wastewater treatment system. We don't have that luxury. We don't have that cash. But what we do have is the ability to abate their property taxes. And through the ITEP program, you can go toe-to-toe with the competition. But it's that important ITEP program that allows you to do that. And certainly, the refinements, the revisions that Governor Edwards made to the program requiring jobs or retention of jobs, requiring the accountability of the company to deliver, to change the yield and provide a local voice are parts of these improvements that we steadfastly agree with and will support. Finally, that parishes are losing out on all the property taxes that they would otherwise receive. Again, on slide 24, when you do grant an ITEP abatement, you do forego a percentage of your income for a 10-year term. But look at what you get in exchange for that. The construction jobs to come in and build the plant, the sales tax on the materials that go into building the plant employees, 100, whatever the number might be, the 400 or 500 jobs that are outside the fence line that come with that come with new residents in your parish, paying new millages, paying higher sales tax inputs into your system, and all the other taxes and fees related to the company which is operating there. So beyond this brief period of abatement lies another 10, 20, 30 years of full assessment on the tax rolls. These are great investments. It does take time for them to mature and for you to realize the benefit. But that benefit is quite clear where ITEP has been used significantly across the state. Another myth on slide 25, that somehow ITEP depresses teacher pay. The analysis done by economist Dr. Lauren Scott in his document dated April 2018 clearly demonstrates that where there are manufacturing concentrations, where there are ITEP concentrations, the schools and teachers in those areas are the winners. Teachers in ITEP-intensive parishes tend to earn more than the standard statewide average, and out of 8 parishes where ITEP is most utilized, 6 parishes rank in the top 16 for teacher pay, and 3 rank in the top 10 for teacher pay. And it's because of the direct and indirect economic impacts from these private investments, such as sales taxes, property taxes, and the company's investment, that are causing this to occur. Well, it'd be great to live in a world where incentives weren't necessary, perhaps. But the reality is every state has their own packages. 39 states have industrial tax exemption programs. For us to compete and win, we've got to have the right tools in our toolbox, and we've got to have united communities. We have to have a great workforce, but at the end of the day, we have to have a competitive package, and tools like ITEP help us win those important projects.
I was here speaking to the School Board Association today to talk about STEM and the work of the La STEM Advisory Council. We've been in operation for almost 2 years, and our objective is to establish a statewide STEM strategy so that Louisiana students are prepared to go to work for Louisiana companies in Louisiana jobs. I grew up right here in Lake Charles. I'm a graduate of Barb High School. I was really good in math and science. I'm the product or the daughter of a math teacher and an engineer. And I went to LSU and majored in mechanical engineering. I was the only female in my mechanical engineering graduating class. And I went to work for Shell, and the initial assignment was to spend time the first year on an offshore drilling rig. And of course, back in the early 80s, there weren't too many women offshore, so that was kind of breaking new ground. Fast forward 20 years, I was managing billions of dollars in assets for the company and had hundreds of employees. And then left employment with my career on fire because our 3rd grader didn't know his multiplication tables, and I thought that it was my fault, that I wasn't spending enough time at home. And so I threw myself into all the PTA work that you all are very familiar with and supporting our school system. And my contribution was always trying to bring new technology to the classrooms, whether it was Elmos, our new computers, our broadcast studios, our weather stations, our swamps. We were about bringing STEM into the classroom. And then after our sons graduated from college and got jobs and officially launched, I decided that it was time to run for a seat in the Louisiana State Senate. And so what an opportunity it is for me now to take more of a statewide stage and look at how we can be more strategic in how we deliver STEM in the state of Louisiana. So
I started in 2017, a year after being elected, with Act 392, as was mentioned earlier. This legislation was passed unanimously on both sides, the Senate and the House. It is probably the most fun thing that I get to work on. And although we argue about a lot of things at the Capitol, there is one thing that everybody believes in, and that's STEM. In my way of looking at it, we had a lot of great STEM things happening in the state of Louisiana, but it felt to me like spaghetti on the wall. We threw a lot of things out there and hoped that something stuck. But it wasn't clear to me that we had a real vision on how we were going to strategically move our students forward and our schools forward and our economy forward in this new technology global economy that we live in. And so I thought that this STEM effort would do several things. First of all, it's going to prepare all citizens for a world of STEM. You know, whether you're 8 or 80, you all know this, technology is part of your everyday life. I'll give you an example. My father is in his 80s. He recently had a pacemaker put in. And when he was in the recovery room, the nurse came in and talked to my mom and said, "Do you have an iPhone?" And she said, "Yes." And he loaded an app on the iPhone so my mom can download data about my dad's pacemaker through the iPhone directly to the doctor. She was so excited that she knew how to use technology on something that would have cost them hours to drive across Houston to be able to do that thing in the old days. And for those that are good in math and science, that choose a career in a STEM field, we want to make sure that they're prepared. And because, you know, at the end of the day, what's good for those families is also going to be good for the state's economy. Because as we have higher paying jobs and more jobs, we're going to attract more industry, and we're going to be able to improve the state's economy and the bottom line. And then because, of course, my background, I know that we need more women in STEM. And so part of the legislation was directly focused on increasing the number of women getting STEM degrees. So we built a 29-member task force, the Law STEM Advisory Council, and it consists about of half educators and half business folks. You'll recognize a lot of the educators on this list. It's led by the Commissioner of Higher Education. The Superintendent of Education is there. So is Bessie. So are representatives from each of the university systems, the School Board Association, you all, the Association of Principals, the teacher unions, the Science and Math Teacher Associations, the Association of Independent Colleges and Universities, STEM faculty members. And on the business side, we have representation from Secretary Pearson's office, Louisiana Economic Development, the Workforce Commission, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, the largest trade group of business folks, Women in Technology, the Workforce Investment Council, 3 of our largest STEM employers in the state, and myself and Representative Stephanie Hilferty. So our purpose in this, in general, is to build the pipeline. And you know, one of my favorite people, one of the favorite books that I've read, and I had an opportunity to train with him personally, is Stephen Covey. Y'all have read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders. He talks about one of his principles is beginning with the end in mind. So we're going to do that. We're going to begin with the end in mind by talking first to the employers in our state that employ and need STEM talent and say, what is it that you need in your workforce in the next 5 or 10 years? And then how are we going to build the education pipeline to meet that ever-changing need? We know that we have to not only have students prepared to do well in STEM, but we have to create an interest in STEM. And I'm positive that we're going to be able to do that. We started our work by dividing into 5 different subgroups. The 29 members were part of those, as were hundreds, literally, of STEM enthusiasts from all around the state. We had 5 sub-work groups. I'm going to talk to you about 3 of them today. The workforce group began their work, and they found a number of very compelling statistics. 71% of American jobs in the year 2018 required STEM skills. In the past 10 years, the growth in STEM jobs is 3 times greater than non-STEM jobs. 80% of the fastest growing occupations in the United States depend on a mastery of math and science skills. And in Louisiana, we see similar trends. We have what we call 4- and 5-star jobs. Those are jobs that Economic Development and the Workforce Commission have identified as high-wage, high-demand jobs, and 58% of those are STEM-intensive jobs. We know in Louisiana that women make up half our workforce, but only 24% of the STEM workforce. So we had a lot of work to do. So to begin the discussion between employers, who I believe are the ultimate stakeholders, and educators, we kicked off a statewide STEM summit this past September at the Pennington Biomedical Research Center. And many of you were there. There were 500 plus crazy people from all around the state. And we had 3 different tracks. We had information and speakers and activities for K through 12 attendees. We had another track for those that were involved in higher ed. We had a number of breakout sessions between economic development folks, business leaders, educators, and STEM providers. And we began the discussion on a regional level, geographically regional level, about what do the industries in that area need. For example, we know that industries here in Lake Charles need a different skill set, perhaps, than industries in central Louisiana. And there's different STEM activities that are already happening. So our purpose was not to eliminate anything that was already happening, but it was to look at how are we being strategic in actually delivering the training that we need for the work that's in that geographic area. We had that conversation in Lake Charles in November, which was a great regional summit. So looking ahead, of course, we have more regional STEM summits. We're looking at all of the regional labor market areas, so it's all the things you would expect. We'll have a meeting in Lafayette, and Baton Rouge, and New Orleans, the North Shore, Alexandria, Monroe, Shreveport. We're also going to have our second annual STEM Summit in September. And the vision is for us to have regional STEM centers, actually with a regional STEM director, a body on the ground in that region that will be the go-to person to kind of help orchestrate all of the STEM activities in that area. We have an advisory council that has all the decision makers at the table. So whether it's a higher education issue or a K through 12 issue or a workforce issue or a BESI issue, we have everybody there that can help us make policy changes that are moving our state forward in the area of STEM. We're competing with states all around the country for STEM talent, and we want Louisiana to become the go-to state for STEM talent.
What our app does is it builds an ecosystem of connectivity with young people, colleges, companies, and organizations. These organizations have the ability in Louisiana to connect with the young men and women of Louisiana first and foremost, in middle school to high school level, and start the conversation early. So that way these young people are thinking about Louisiana jobs and Louisiana opportunities before anything else, and then we can ultimately retain them in the state and reduce brain drain and things of that nature.
What response have you seen so far?
So far, we see a pretty awesome response. We're looking forward to getting things kicked off. I believe the goal is to kick this off in fall of 2019, the new school year. So we'll be building the foundation and building a strategy of how to execute this throughout the state in the coming months.
Of children and adults in the Louisiana Mississippi Delta regions. Our workshop today dealt with the Louisiana Child Nutrition Programs. We talked about all of the child nutrition programs that are administered by the Department of Education, but we had a specific focus on the National School Lunch Program because there are some topics that are very much in the public eye right now, where there's a lot of discussion about the community eligibility provision, the discussion about unpaid meal charges that really everyone in our state would like to be aware of and wants more information about.
What's your message to school systems around the state?
That we have a lot of school systems around the state that are doing an excellent job in implementing the community eligibility provision. In fact, the vast majority of our schools in the state that qualify at a high rate of reimbursement for the community eligibility provision are currently participating, and that's wonderful news.
Our workshop today was based off of community relations and also providing opportunities for students and adults through the Career and Technology Center in St. James Parish. We've seen positive responses so far. We've had, at the end of May, we're going to put about 30 to 40 students and adults to work. In January, we put another 4. And also that we've put 13 people to work in our Human Capital Center where we help them build resumes and help them fill out applications online as well for companies. My recommendation for school districts across the state is to invest back into your community. So show some social corporate responsibility by paying back the citizens of your parish through some programs that you have during the school day as well, having students buy into mentoring other students and also providing a service for those in need in your community.
Her parents weren't happy because they were footing the bill. So
our workshop today focused on community partnerships. Through AHEC programs, we partner with community hospitals, school boards, universities, medical schools, and rural health clinics to inform, make aware, and encourage students interested in the medical field to pursue a career in primary care.
What kind of response have you seen from the students that are involved in those programs?
Well, to date, we've had over 5,000 students complete our program. So I think the numbers certainly speak for themselves, but it's always great to hear directly from the students who participate, and it's always been these positive comments about how our programs have helped them decide on a medical career of their choosing or change their mind about one but actually go into another allied healthcare field, which is great, or to continue on the path that they've decided on in being a medical professional.
3 years ago, when I became the chairman of the Senate Education Committee, I had a full head of black hair. But man, has it been an education for me. And there are a lot of people who have helped me along the way. It certainly doesn't have as much to do with me as it does to your School Boards Association and the people that you put in Baton Rouge to represent you, and you attending those meetings and participating in the Senate Education Committee and the House Education Committee and talking about what's important in your districts. And we continue to work on those issues. We continue to work together. And we continue to try and make things happen. And I appreciate the opportunity to receive this award, but I only receive it on behalf of those people I've named, of those people who I see in the audience who have supported me for years, and of the students and the educators in Louisiana. Thank you.
Fight on behalf of young people in particular. I had the opportunity to share the story of how the people who fought for me as a young boy lost in the gaps of the foster care system, small things they did that impacted my life, gave me the strength to fight for just one more day. It's the thing that the members of the Louisiana School Board are doing. I just wanted to affirm what they do.
Your reaction to what you've heard and seen here today?
Humbling. Here's what I've learned, especially after writing the book. We all have similar chapters. We have different stories, but we have similar chapters. And when we connect along those similar chapters, you find the strength to endure, the strength to come together.
What advice do you have for school teachers, school principals, and school board members throughout the state?
So a few things. One is the importance of continuing the fight in particular. I know it's hard. A lot of headwinds, a lot of challenges that we face, particularly those who supporters of public education. So that's number one, you have to fight. And the second one is to stay as closely connected to young people as you can, because they affirm, why you fight.
Public education is way more than what it does for our children. It's what builds our community. So without a great public school system, our communities are going to go down. Our workforce, our just everything, our entire economy is based on our students and our public education.
public education is the backbone of any good society. We have got to value our public education because it's what we have. We encompass everyone. We don't say no to any kid, right? We value every child. So it is important that everyone values public education because, like I said, it is the backbone of every great society.
Key is public education. We have had in a history of a lot of people from Louisiana going on to a lot higher positions, a lot of leadership positions, all of this, and they came out of public education. We need to straighten this out. We need for them to come forward and to support it and do their share.
I would hope people understand that without public education, we perish. The children perish, the economy perishes. We have to put education first and make sure that we're not just saying it, that we're doing what needs to be done to make it first.
Public education is for everyone. We don't turn kids away. The reality of it is we take all comers, and public education is really the key to our future. Economically, when you talk about jobs, you talk about all of the aspects. You look at companies who decide to come in and invest in Louisiana. They want a skilled, qualified, educated workforce. Public education is at the root of that.
Public education, we educate all of our students. We don't worry about selective admission. See, whereas the parochial and private school, they selected who they want to come to that school, but not us. We want support and educate everyone.
Public education is important because every child deserves a good education, and most students in our state will go to a public school. So going back to pay for teachers and support personnel, that's another reason, because we have so many students that we have to teach. The public school system has to teach every child. Private and parochial schools don't have to teach every child. We do. And so we have to be the best that we can be for every child in the state of Louisiana.
Public education is one of the best educations you can get in the state. You're paying your taxes. Therefore, you should be getting something for them, and your children should be getting something. And we're trying to give your kid the best education we can with them tax dollars that we're getting from the state and at the local level.
Our children, our teachers, this is the most important issue that we face in Louisiana right now, is making sure that we fully fund public education, and that's why this conference is so important.
You can reach us at www.lsba.com, and we'll have all of our information from our conference online this week.